Welcome to the Pocket. My name is Scooter here with my Week 2 Giants Commanders preview video. And before we get started, I just want to thank everyone for 25 subscribers. This is only the beginning, but the support means everything to me. So if you do want to support me further, don't forget to smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already and leave a comment letting me know what you think about my take on this week's game. So without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. Last week sucked, but it did for a lot of other teams too. Week 1 is always strange, and now it's a new week. So let's focus on the team that we're going to be playing now, and that is the Washington Commanders. Last week they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Tampa Bay, and they lost 37-20. That was the second most points allowed in the league last week, second only to the Panthers, who allowed 47 points to the Saints, another NFC South team. Now, as we break down this Commanders defense and how they're going to match up against the Giants offense, I'm going to use last week's sample size to give us a good idea of what we can expect from the Giants offense relative to how the Bucs offense did. So as I stated before, the Commanders allowed the second most points to this Buccaneers offense. Now, this Buccaneers offense is pretty talented. They do have a great receiving core. They now have two running backs in Rashad White and Bucky Irving, an upgraded offensive line with Graham Barton, who they just drafted to help that interior. But I do think the Giants' offense is going to benefit from the fact that this Commanders' defense doesn't seem to be very good. They only managed one sack. They had 0 turnovers. The Bucs had just over 4 yards per carry on the ground and 12 yards per catch through the air. And Baker only had 4 incompletions, probably due to the fact that they weren't getting pressure, that being the Commanders' defense. So this is a dream matchup for this Giants offense to really get their footing and get out of these early season woes, by week 2. We saw last year the early season woes were killing us. 6 quarters without a point scored until we finally came back and won against the Arizona Cardinals, who were destroying us. I believe it was 21-0 at halftime. So taking a look at what the Giants did last week, we were 7 for 18 on third down, and we had 3.5 yards per play. That is one of the lowest marks in the league for week 1. So one of my big takeaways is we can't keep getting ourselves into third down situations. And of course, it's going to happen throughout the game. But if I'm just going to scroll down here and look at the Commanders, they were 2 for 8 on third down. But you notice the big difference there is they scored 20 points. And part of that is probably because they were able to get first downs on second down, maybe even on first down, big chunk plays. So big key for this Giants offense is going to be to have plays that attack more downfield. We saw lots of screens. It looked like the Giants offense was scared to take chances and risks, to leave Daniel Jones in the pocket for more than 3 seconds, maybe leave a couple extra guys on play action and try to get a shot downfield. We need more of that. Less running the ball with Daniel Jones up the middle. So all of our weapons are going to have an opportunity to capitalize on this poor Commanders defense. Malik Nabers needs to be utilized much more. Wan'Dale Robinson did have 12 targets. Now I understand a lot of them were screens. You could say it's an extension of the run game, but Malik Nabers is the best player, the best weapon on our offense. I would say the best player is probably Andrew Thomas. But you understand the point I'm trying to make. The Giants need to use these weapons. We've committed to being a passing team. We've moved on from Saquon Barkley. It's time to air out the ball. If Daniel Jones throws an interception, I want it to be 40 or 50 yards downfield. If he does that, I honestly wouldn't be too upset. Now, if it's in double or triple coverage, I might feel a little bit differently about it. But you know what? Maybe he saw a window and he was trying to fit it in there. And you know what? I'll take that over the barely struggling to dink and dunk the whole game, right? 3.5 yards per play just to get to the red zone and throw an interception when everything gets squeezed down. So that's my take on the Giants offense going up against the Commanders defense and how we should match up compared to how the Bucs did, is that this Commanders secondary is an issue for them. And this run defense for them wasn't great either. And the Giants need to capitalize on that. Now, let's get into the Commanders' offense and how they match up against the Giants' defense. Jaden Daniels is as advertised on the ground. He had 5.5 yards per carry and 2 rushing touchdowns. And the effect he has on the team's run game as a whole could also be seen, as the Bucs have a pretty good run defense. However, the Commanders averaged 4.6 yards per carry on the ground between Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson, and Austin Eckler. And the reason for that being, if any of you are wondering, is because whether it's him scrambling outside of the pocket and everyone's already downfield, or if he's doing read option, that takes one defender out of the play, right? Because if he chases the running back, he's going to take off in the other direction. So that's a blocking advantage. So that's going to be a challenge that the Giants are going to have to be up to if we're going to slow down and stop this offense. However, their passing game leaves a lot to be desired. Eckler and Brian Robinson led their team in receptions and yards. You hear people talking all offseason about how mobile quarterbacks don't dump off. Well, not in this offense. Both of their running backs led their team in receptions and receiving yards. That is just crazy to me. Now, Terry McLaurin, who I believe is a very good wide receiver, did not have a good week. I believe Jaden Daniels missed him once or twice on some deep shots. But behind Terry is Diami Brown and Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother. But those two are younger guys who, they could develop by the end of the season. But right now, they're not anywhere near the twos that we faced against the Vikings and guys like Jordan Addison, right? So Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison with a great offensive line and Kevin O'Connell coaching versus Terry, Diami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, a rookie quarterback whose strength is not passing with Cliff Kingsbury and not a very good offensive line. I think this pass game is going to be much easier to stop than what the Vikings were. Now, the Commanders did manage some positives, right? They scored 20 points. And compared to the Giants, they had a much better yards per play, even with all of these short dump offs and whatnot. 5.3 yards per play. So you can see how this offense does have the potential to be dangerous. However, historically, the Giants play very well against the Commanders, including the defense. A lot of people take shots at guys like Kayvon Thibodeau, saying he's got very consolidated stats against bad teams like the Jets and the Commanders. Well, that's who we're playing this week. So I do have some faith that this defense is going to show up and have a much better outing than they did against the Vikings. And, they're going to be itching to get some sacks because they only had one last week. And that is something this defense is very passionate about, is that this pass rush should be the strength. And we should only be rushing 4 and locking up everything downfield. Now, what does Vegas say? Vegas projects a Washington victory 23-21 because the over-under is at 43.5 and it's Washington -2. Now, my take on this is I'm pretty confident that this could be the Cardinals game from last year, even if they catch us by surprise early with actually a very similar offense and the way they attack us with this read option and the run game and not really needing to pass too much, as the Cardinals had Josh Dobbs, but even he was, tearing us up on the ground. Even if they catch us off guard, I don't think this defense of theirs is going to be able to contain the Giants for the entire game like the Vikings defense was able to. Dan Quinn does have familiarity with Daniel Jones, as he was the Cowboys defensive coordinator, and so he's played Daniel Jones quite a bit. So if he can recall his weaknesses and the things that worked best against him and try to implement them onto this defense, that could be a problem. However, I don't think they have the talent to back up the schemes that he is going to put into place, nor can they really consistently control the clock on offense. They have a bad offensive line. Even if this run game is effective, they were playing from behind and most of that Buccaneers game. So if there was something the Bucs were going to allow them to do, it was going to be to run the ball and chew up more clock. So I'll disagree with Vegas again. I might feel really dumb for this, but I'm going to take the under and give me the Giants to win 17-16. Pretty similar to the past few times we played the Commanders. I think both offenses aren't going to look great, but I just think the Giants are going to be able to capitalize and get 2 touchdowns and a field goal, whereas the Commanders, they'll manage a touchdown, but they'll get downfield with some of these scrambles and whatnot. But, since they're not great on third down, they're not going to be able to finish these drives, and they're going to end up kicking 3 field goals, and that's not going to be enough. In conclusion, I do foresee this being a very close, lower scoring game. The key matchup on defense is going to be the Giants' front seven against this read option rushing attack with Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson. Now, this is something that has given us problems in the past, as I mentioned before, with the Cardinals, but I do believe that they will figure it out at least by halftime or maybe sooner. And it's something the Giants are going to have to do, at least if they want to win this game on the defensive side. Now, for offense, Brian Dable and Dan Quinn do have some history. Dan Quinn being the Cowboys defensive coordinator. They've played each other before. They're familiar with what they try to do. So Brian Dable is going to need to take some more risks and chances and try to expose the weaknesses and lack of talent on this Commanders defense. And then, of course, if Brian Dable is calling the right plays, Daniel Jones has to capitalize, and he has to be the one to lead this offense to victory in this game. He is way better than he played last week, but the days of him getting excuses are over. He had the 12th best time to throw last week. I believe it was 2.8. He just flat out had a bad game. I know Brian Dable's play calling wasn't great, but I think he's going to get right for this game, that being Brian Dable. So it's going to be in the hands of Daniel Jones to win this game on offense. Do I think we can score more than 17 points? Absolutely. But if I was even confident in that, I wouldn't be projecting them for 17 points. In reality, if you asked me at the start of the season and you told me the Commanders defense let up 37 points week one, I would say, oh my God, the Giants might actually score 30. Do I think they can do that? Yes, but I need to see it first. Let me see Daniel Jones take some leadership and some control of this offense and lead this team to victory. So that's my prediction, 17-16. New York Giants win. They get their footing, and hopefully it leads them to a better rest of the season. And hopefully, the first win in my 7-10 prediction for them can be tabbed down this upcoming week. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget, again, to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if you think I'm an idiot for picking the Giants 2 weeks in a row. I always do this. They always have a bad start to the season, and I want to say it's going to get better early on, and then they figure it out halfway through the season when it's too late. But if you disagree with me, leave a comment. Please tell me what you think and what you have seen from the first week of the season and who you think is going to win this game. Leave the score prediction down below. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night.